So last week, The Boys released its penultimate episode. It was a disappointment for reasons that I've discussed in several previous videos, but one of the more disappointing aspects was that this was the very first appearance by the Gen V kids in The Boys. And it was so disappointing for a few reasons, and I'll get into all of them from smallest to largest in terms of egregiousness. First is that only a couple of the Gen V kids actually did appear in the episode. It was just Jordan and Marie. I think Kate got mentioned, but that's it. So anyone who was hoping for some sort of epic payoff for that scene at the end of Gen V Season 2, where Starlight and A-Train recruited all the Gen V kids to join their underground resistance to Homelander's fascist soup state, was massively let down. Second, a little more disappointing, Jordan and Marie's appearance was nothing but a cameo. They actually got less screen time than Misha Collins and Jared Padalecki did in that silly, underwhelming Supernatural reunion cameo from episode 5. They showed up in the episode to provide Starlight with some intelligence that I believe Kate got for them. They briefly tried to slap some much needed sense into Starlight when she, high on narcotics and undergoing a poorly written dark night of the soul moment, told them to give up the fight against Homelander and run for their lives, despite how she recruited them to do the exact opposite of that. Then they briefly showed up again at the end of the episode when Starlight meets them at a safe house and asks them to provide shelter for some people whom Homelander ordered executed because they refused to believe in him as God. So anyone hoping for a payoff regarding Marie's entire arc from Season 2 of Gen V, wherein it was implied that she could possibly control or kill Homelander, or indeed anyone hoping for just a fight involving the boys teaming up with the Gen V kids against soups of any sort on Homelander's side, was also massively let down. Third and most disappointing, this appearance of the Gen V kids and the boys was far too late. We should have gotten appearances by these characters as early as the first episode of this season, and we should have gotten much more epic action from them as well. We should have gotten major fights with them and the boys against members of the Seven. We should have gotten their more active participation in missions and plans of the boys. We definitely should have gotten at least one confrontation between Marie and Homelander by now. And I understand what the writers were probably trying to do here. They knew they'd painted themselves into a corner by creating Gen V and delivering protagonists with the type of overwhelming power that so many of that show's protagonists indeed possessed. They knew that having those characters solve all the boys' problems in the main show of the boys would not go over well with fans, especially having Marie either kill Homelander or otherwise solve the problem that he presented instead of leaving that win for Butcher alone. But at the same time, that does not excuse the exceptional narrative failure by the writers to account for that in the story of the boys, with writing smarter than just saying that the Gen V kids were all conveniently too busy every time that the boys could have used them during this season to solve a major problem or end a major conflict, because there are ways that the writers could have done that. For instance, and this is just one example, I did a video several days ago wherein I broke down how the writers, if they'd cared, could have respectfully paid off Marie's narrative while not ruining the final Homelander Butcher fight. There is no reason why Starlight should not have called them in to break Huey and the other members of the boys out of their prison camps in the first episode of this season, or use them as backup when she went to leak the Flight 37 video regarding Homelander at Vought Summit in episode 1 of this season. And the list just continues on from there and through basically every episode of the season before episode 7. Yeah, this just does not make any narrative sense. No storytelling sense whatsoever. And the fact that the writers felt backed into a corner by how overpowered several of these characters from Gen V are is no excuse, because A, the writers still could have used them in narratively strategic ways that made sense while only advancing and not ruining the narrative of the boys, and B, because the writers deliberately put themselves in this predicament when they created Gen V in the first place and tied that spin-off show so closely to the narrative of the boys. But anyway, that's all I've got. Your turn. Sound off in the comments below to let me know what you think. Am I on point here? Am I overreacting? Definitely let me know. And when you're done, don't forget to like and follow for more.